Hi everyone, Annette Kessler here with part 2 of the wow effects for card making. Hi everyone, Annette Kessler here with a new tutorial, and today we are making a giant never-ending card. This is a really fun project, and you have all the measurements in the cutting guide that you can download from the description under the video. Just click on the link and then you can download all the measurements. So we're going to start on the long side and score it at 3 and at 9. And then we are going to turn our cardstock and score it at 3 inches. All the way from the top to the bottom. And now we're going to fold on all our score lines and burnish them well and make sure it's all aligned, that you didn't make a mistake. And once you have that done, you need to make 7 more pieces exactly like this, because for our project for the giant never-ending card we need 8 identical pieces. So I'm just making sure that I have 8, and then we can go ahead and start assembling our card. So we're going to take 2 pieces, align them vertically one next to the other like this, and then we're going to apply glue to all 4 corners, all 4 squares in the corners. And make sure that you apply the glue on all the surface but not on the score lines, because then if we have glue on the score lines we won't be able to fold the card later, and then the whole thing is not going to work. So just go up to the score line without actually applying any glue on it. Then bring 2 more pieces and attach them horizontally, one on the top and one on the bottom. And of course you need to align them with the 2 pieces underneath. Align them with the corners, making sure that it's all glued straight. And then the bottom piece the same way. By the way, it doesn't matter where the folds, if they're facing up or down, it doesn't matter at this point. Just burnishing the corners, making sure it's all glued straight and strong. Next we're going to turn it to the right, quarter of a turn, and open it in the middle. Make sure that when you open it, do it very carefully while folding it to the right direction like this. And we're going to attach our 2 next pieces. Just want to make sure that it opens properly. Okay, so now we're going to apply glue. Again, we're going to start with the 4 corner squares, and I remind you again not to apply any glue to the score lines. And like always, I recommend using liquid glue, especially here when you need to align everything. Make sure that it's in the right place. And we're also going to apply glue to the 2 large squares in the center. So the top one and the bottom one, just apply the glue, and then again bring 2 pieces and attach them horizontally, aligning them with all the edges and all the corners and making sure that it's all straight and in place. This is very important because later the card needs to move, so it's important that everything aligns. Next we are going to turn it again, quarter of a turn to the right or to the left, it doesn't really matter, just making sure that everything is completely glued. So again, quarter of a turn to the right and open in the center. Again, making sure that all the folds open properly and are burnished well for easier movement. Then we can go ahead and attach 2 more pieces. So now we're going to apply the glue, starting again from the 4 corners. And this time we're going to go on all the little squares on the side and the other side as well. So just make sure that you don't apply too much glue. We don't want the paper to curl or to wrinkle. So I continue with applying glue to all the sides, and later, next we're going to apply glue to the center as well. So basically on this piece we're applying glue on everything, but again without going over the score lines. So in the center, in the 2 large squares in the center, you can go over the score lines. In the center there are 2 horizontal score lines, but not on the sides. These are the 2 horizontal pieces that we're going to attach and align with all the edges like we did before, one on the top and one on the bottom. And these are basically our 2 last pieces that we're attaching. Just making sure that everything is glued properly. Next, I'm just going to work the card a little bit to make sure that it knows where it needs to go. And now we are ready to cover it with all the cover papers. And again, you have all the measurements for those as well in the link under the video. In the description there is a link that you can click on and download all the measurements and the instructions. So this is definitely a wow effect for a never-ending card. Just make it big, and again you can make it for any occasion. So for our next card, we're going to make a pop-up card that is a box, and you can fold it, put it in an envelope and send it. So it's a really wow effect for a card that is also a box. So we're going to take our 2 pieces, our base card pieces, and then we're going to score it at 2 and 5.5 on the long side, and then turn it and score it at 2 inches on the short side. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other piece. Score it at 2 and 5.5, and then turn it and score it at 2. So these 2 pieces are going to make the box. These 2 pieces are going to go on the inside of the box. We're going to score them at 3/4 and 4 1/4. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other strip, score it at 3/4 and 4 1/4. These are going to go on the inside of the box, and we're going to add all the embellishments and the pop-up elements to them. So what we're going to do next is cut the base, the box base pieces. We're going to cut from the bottom edge to the horizontal fold line along the 2 vertical lines that we did, the fold lines like this. I'm going to do that on the second piece as well, from the bottom to the horizontal fold line along the vertical fold lines. Now we're going to cut diagonally to remove that part of the piece to create a little tab. I'm going to do that on the other piece as well. And these two tabs are going to be attached to create the box. So we're going to align them like this, one next to the other. Apply glue to the little tab and then attach it to the second piece. Make sure they're both aligned on the bottom. And then we're going to apply glue to the second tab and fold it over like this to close it to create the box. So this is going to be our box card. So make sure to burnish all the folds and fold out 3 sides of the box. The back side of the box is going to be unfolded. It's going to stay upright like this. Now we're going to attach the 2 strips to the inside of the box. We're going to fold the score lines like this. Then we're going to apply glue to the first strip, and then we're going to attach it to the back of the box while it's aligned with the top edges and the back like this. And then we're going to apply glue to the next strip and attach it while it's aligned with the first strip and of course the top of the box. We don't want anything peeping out. So these 2 strips are going to hold all our pop-up embellishments. So what you're going to need next is 2 1/4 inch strip of acetate. Doesn't really matter how long they are. We're going to attach cutout embellishments to them, and then we're going to attach the acetate to those strips. Now what you have to make sure is that when you attach those embellishments, they do not go over the edge of the back of the box. That is your limit. So attach embellishments to the strips, the acetate strips, and then attach them to those strips that are in the box. So I'm using glue dots. You can do this with regular glue as well. It's up to you. Just make sure again that when you glue them to the strip inside the box, they are not exceeding the height of the back of the box. So I'm adding a few glue dots. I'm attaching the first embellishment to the front strip inside the box. And then I'm just going to trim the excess of the acetate if it's too long. And then you see the embellishment does not exceed the height of the back of the box. So I'm going to add a few more embellishments and attach them to the back strip now. They're going to be sort of a background. And of course this can be for any occasion, depending of course on the embellishments that you add. And you can add them in different heights to create more interest, of course remembering not to exceed the height of the back of the box. And we are doing that with acetate, so it will remain transparent, and then it will look like the embellishments are kind of floating inside the box. So the effect is really cool. So now I'm going to show you how it looks. I'm going to cover the back of the box with the cover papers and then the sides, and you can add your message on the back or on the sides or on the back of the box completely. And then it always, if it is, you can always fold it, put it in an envelope, and send it. So it's a really cool wow effect for this card. So this is how it looks. Isn't that cool? I really like how it looks, and this is how it looks when you fold it. So for our next card, we're going to create another wow effect. I'm going to start with my two solid color pieces. One is 4 1/4 by 11 and the other is 2 3/4 by 11. Again, you have all the measurements in that printable cutting guide. I'm going to take the first piece, which is the base, and simply score it in the center and fold it in half. This is going to be the base of our card. Always use a bone folder to burnish all your folds. These interactive cards need very strong folds to work. Next, I'm going to take the inside piece and I'm going to score it at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. Again, you have all the instructions, very detailed instructions in the printable guide that you can download for free. So I'm going to score that, and I'm using my trimmer and a bone folder, but you can use a scoreboard if you have one, or just a ruler and something to make your score lines. Now let's fold this piece in accordion shape. That means that you start with a valley fold, then a mountain fold, and then a valley fold again. You're going to have an M or a W shape like this, or an accordion shape. Next, we're going to take our pop-up panel piece. It's 8 1/2 by 10 3/4, and on the long side we're going to score it at 5 3/8. Make sure everything is very accurate so the card will work properly. Then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and score it at 2 1/4, 4 1/4, and 6 1/4. Again, all the measurements that I'm saying are in that guide. So I always recommend to download the guide, print the guide, and then cut all the pieces in advance, and then just follow along with the video to make the card. It's very easy this way. You don't have to pause, cut the piece, play it again, and then pause the video again. I think this way is much easier to follow along. Now let's fold it in half on the vertical fold line, and then make sure that it's accurate. Always use your bone folder to burnish it. I'm going to bring back my trimmer, and now the folded edge, we're going to align that with the 1 inch mark, and then take a pencil and make a little mark on the top and on the bottom. Okay, next on the top and on the bottom, just with a pencil. Next, we're going to move that and align the same folded edge with 1 1/4 and make 2 marks vertically. Use your vertical ruler. We're going to make 2 marks here and then all the way down here. Again, all the measurements are in the cutting guide, in the instructions. It's very clear there. Okay, so once we've done these 2 marks, go ahead. It's a little bit difficult to see that on the printed pattern paper, but when you make it on your paper it will be visible, that little pencil mark there. So the next step is to take a ruler and connect the marks that we made with the pencil on both sides like this. They're going to be a little bit of diagonal lines like this, and they're basically going to meet the score lines that we made. So now it's time to fold along the score lines that we previously made on the 2 1/4, 4 1/4, and 6 1/4. This mechanism is kind of complicated. I tried to simplify it as much as I could, but a little bit of measuring and folding is still required, but the result is really worth it. Okay, so now we're going to cut from the bottom edge all the way to that pencil line that we made and along the pencil line on both sides of your folded paper. You can do this with scissors. I like to work with a ruler and a craft knife. Think it's much accurate and the lines are more straight than with scissors. But that's just me. You can go ahead and do that with scissors. So along the score line all the way up to the pencil line, and then along the pencil line on both sides of the paper. And you're going to get sort of a t-shirt shape. I think that describes it. So this is our t-shirt shape that we have, and this is going to be the moving mechanism of the card. So the next step is to fold it and create the moving mechanism. So you have two lines. You have the horizontal fold line, score line, and the vertical score line, which you have to wiggle your cardstock and align one on top of the other like this. Make sure that the top and bottom edges there form a 90 degrees angle like this. So this is a 90 degrees angle. This is what you're supposed to have, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Align the horizontal line with the vertical line, the score lines, while you create a 90 degrees angle. Burnish your folds with the bone folder. Now you're going to insert it like this, the two sleeves together towards the inside like this. Close it, and again burnish it very well with your bone folder to make sure that all the fold lines are really creased. That will make a really big difference when you're supposed to operate. So this is the moving mechanism of the card. So now we're going to bring back our M or W, and we have cover papers. Just going to flip the direction of the piece because you're supposed to put the cover papers on the inside, namely when this shape is in the W shape, and I want the green to show, not the red. So that's why I changed the directions of the fold. So you just put your W shape paper in front of you and cover it with the cover papers. Now if you want to make this card really personal, you can use little photos instead of pattern papers, or you can use 2 photos and 2 pattern paper squares. Just play with it, and this adding photos will make the card very personal. So since it's a double-sided paper, I'm just going to play with the directions of the paper and use both sides just to make it a little bit more interesting. So after you cover the 4 panels, you can go ahead and glue that to our mechanism. So what we're going to do is apply glue to the bottom left corner here under the fold line, and to the top right corner here above the fold line. Close it like this, and then make sure the writing is on the right side, and then turn it so the opening is towards the bottom like this. Align it with the bottom edge of your mechanism and attach the arm, the left arm where we put the glue, and then flip it towards the other side and then attach the other arm while you align it with the other bottom edge. And basically your mechanism is ready. Just burnish everything. And this is how it looks. Oops, it's upside down. Have to wait for the glue to dry. I always like to use liquid glue because then I can wiggle it to position, but you can use double-sided tape if you want. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Now let's bring back the base. Apply glue to the bottom of your mechanism. Again, I like to use liquid glue, but you can use double-sided tape if you want. Then apply the glue and attach it to the bottom part of your base. Align to the center all the way up to the fold line. Make sure it can close, and then apply glue to the top and close the base, close the card, so it will be attached to the top side of the mechanism like this. Now all you need to do is add papers, embellishments to the top of your card. So I hope you like these 3 effects: the giant never-ending card, the pop-up panel, and the card in the box. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the little bell icon, and I will see you next time.